Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to another episode of the Tradie Business School podcast, the only podcast you're ever going to need in your life. But if you want to scale and grow your trades-based business, this is the place to go. I'm joined with the wonderful Bryan Santos today. We are in end of financial year mode. This will go live in June sometime. So numbers is the theme of the month. And today we wanted to talk about an interesting topic. It's not so much about your numbers as far as end of financial years reporting, but the numbers of your time and the value of that and how exactly you're kind of ballsing those equations up. So, Bryan, first and foremost, thanks for joining me today. I'm going to throw straight over to you. I hope you're well.
Well, mate, I'm well, thank you.
Amazing. Now, we were talking a little bit offline, and you made mention about kind of this equation of how people get it wrong. You know, they just kind of hone in. I think they look through the little keyhole of, you know, what they're worth on an hourly rate, but there is so much more when you're a business owner to the equation of what your time and what your value is holistically. So I'm going to shut up for a minute. I'm going to let you speak and talk about all those beautiful things you said when we're offline.
Yeah. So one of the problems that I see with a lot of business owners when they're quoting, for example, or they're putting their value on their time, they're literally charging themselves out at $1 per hour or $1 per project type of situation, right? So you're putting literally a value on your time, and it's usually based on, the work that you're doing. Obviously, you can't charge when you're at home doing the invoicing or in the office, whatever. You're just billing for the time and the materials, obviously, for what you're doing for the customer. And so like you might be charging $40, $50, $60 an hour, for your employees, or it might be a lot more for you, for example. But I think where people miss out is, number one, when you're doing that and you're not including the other expenses of your business, you're actually appropriating, if that's the right word, your value, because you're just saying that I'm worth an X amount of dollars per hour or X amount of dollars per project type of situation. And yet when you come home at night and you've had to, you're exhausted, and then you play with the kids, and then after that you go back to your work desk, and then you start quoting, and then you start doing all that sort of stuff. What about that time? Are you doing that? Are you charging the client for that? Usually not, right? So you're not charging anything. So really, literally what you're saying in that situation is, my time is worth $0 during that time, even though I'm exhausted and I'm pushing through this, right? A pimply kid at McDonald's is actually earning more than you during those times, right?
Oof.
So this
that hurts.
Right?
It's a dagger to the heart.
But what that's saying is, and I know we can say, but as business owners, we got to do what we got to do. But at the same time, what we're saying is, and especially if this goes on for many months, even years as business owners, we're actually saying, you know what? We're not saying, we just got to do what we got to do. We're actually saying we're not putting value on our time, on what we're
and this is the thing, right? The key thing is on all your time that you're spending in the business. And I quite often do this exercise with business owners, right? Where it's like, they're generating, a couple of $100,000, let's say $200,000. And they're like, yeah, I'm doing 40 hours, 50 hours a week. Let's say it's 50 hours a week. And I'm charging, I don't know, try to think of some numbers that would work here. But I mean, if we let's say we're doing $200,000 a year, I'm just going to run through this for the likes of everyone, $200,000 a year. And we're doing, let's say 50 hours a week times 50 weeks a year. We're getting a couple of weeks off a year, right? For Christmas. So that's about 2,500 hours, right? Now, if we go $200,000 that we're generating in a year, and we divide that by 2,500 hours, we're working, got $80 an hour. Everyone's like, yeah, that's good. That's good. And they're like, yeah, that's not bad. But let's now add into the equation all the extra stuff that you're doing, right? And we quite often find that people are doing 10, 15, 20 hours of non-income generating work, right? So all of a sudden it goes from we're doing 50 hours a week up to we're doing 80 hours a week. So if we go 80 hours a week times 50 weeks, because we've got 2 weeks off over Christmas, we're now looking at 4,000 hours. So if we go $200,000 divided by 4,000 hours, now we're earning $50 an hour, right? And it's like, shit, I earn $50 an hour when I'm just at work on the tools for somebody else. And I don't have to worry about quoting. I don't have to worry about chasing work. And like I've had people get right down to as low as like $12 an hour when they actually factor in all the time and effort and energy, particularly in couples, right? Because there's usually one person, that's out there generating the income, and then there's somebody in the back office, making sure everything's done and running around and organizing bits and pieces. And I think that this is where people get it wrong. And this is why so many businesses go belly up, right? Because they look at their numbers through a keyhole in and around what their value is and what they think they're worth in business. I mean, how's it been your experience in and around with what people value themselves, Bryan?
Well, yeah, exactly as you described it. But I guess what we're also saying is that, because I know some of you who are listening saying, yeah, but guys, I'm not going to charge my client for all the hours that I'm not working, right? I'm not going to win any business if you're asking me to do it that way. And that's not what we're saying. What I guess we're ultimately saying is that you can be smarter with your time, you can be smarter with your money, you can be smarter with the value of what you do, so that you don't do everything, or you don't do the bits that aren't as valuable. Or, I mean, as a business owner, of course, every now and then you have to do bits and pieces that you just have to pull up your socks and do the things that you need to do.
Yeah.
At the same time, if you're not allocating your time properly, if you're not allocating the right resources, or if you're not allocating the right dollars to the right areas within your business, you'll end up saying what I often hear, and probably what you hear as well, Adam, is, oh yeah, but I don't have the time to do that. Oh yeah, but I don't have the money to do that, right? Yeah. And it's not that you don't have the time, because we all have the same amount of time, right? The rich person, the mid-tier person, and the poor person, we all have 24 hours in a day, right?
Well, comes down to priorities, doesn't it? What are you prioritizing?
100%. And when we hear people say, oh, I don't have the money for certain things, right? That might be true. But again, what we do with our clients is that we help them to reorganize their finances, to know where their money is at, to know how to reallocate and put systems in place, and be smart about their money, so that they're not doing it all themselves, and their business is more efficient, and they are actually valuing their time, so that they can do so you as the business owner can do the higher value work and jobs that's bringing in the higher value returns, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it takes me to two places, right? The number one is understanding that you're responsible for the whole income that you're generating, right? So for those people that are generating $200,000, understand that you're responsible for generating $200,000. Like business owners I've seen and worked with doing $500,000, million, $5 million, $10 million, right? They don't understand their responsibility to make sure they're operating at that level. Thinking about somebody who's responsible for, a couple of $100,000, multiple millions of dollars, right? It's a very different mindset from an employee who's responsible for generating 50, 60, 80, $100,000 of income. Like it takes a shift. But then also understanding with that responsibility, where am I spending time, energy, effort that's low ROI? Like if you, actually there's a third point, right? I always see people get really stuck in justifying the cost, right? When their boss charged, 100, 120, $150 an hour for their time, they're like, I'm getting paid 30 or $40 an hour. Why and how? Like, why is there such a big disparity between those numbers? And people like melt down. And I think that this will help people understand the gap is that you're actually paying and like that $150 an hour versus the $50 an hour you might have got as an employee. Like that's paying for overheads and income generating activities such as marketing and sales down the track, right? So you've got to understand that and help bridge that gap. But then also understanding the value of a tradesperson or a specialist over somebody who you can sort of teach anybody to do the job. Do you know what I mean? So like a trades assistant, there's a reason why a tradesman gets paid 40, 50, 60, 80 bucks an hour as an employee when a cleaner or an accounts person gets paid 20 or 30 bucks an hour, right? Because they've become a specialist. And we always say, you know, tradespeople and specialists, you owe me for the years of my knowledge and my experience, my skills, as opposed to the minutes or hours that I've been on site. You know, it's important to understand that difference. And then I think, you know, to sort of wrap that up, it's, you know, if you understand the principle of charging out $100, $120, $150 an hour, whatever it may be, then ask yourself, would you pay somebody $100 an hour or more to do every single one of the tasks that you're doing? Because that's currently what you are doing. Like if you're doing admin, if you're cleaning the house, if you're cooking your own meals, all of those sorts of things. Now, before everybody jumps on the comments and says, I don't have the time or money to pay somebody to come in and clean my house and prep my meals and those sorts of things, I understand, but this is the evolution that you need to be able to go through to get to the point where you're doing those really high level, high value tasks all the time. If you stay stuck doing everything yourself, then you are paying yourself with opportunity costs. You know, you are costing yourself opportunities. And this was the thing. I remember years ago, I wanted to be a tradesman in everything so I could do all the things. Whereas now I'm very different. I want to be a specialist in one thing only, and getting up the chain of how high I can think and the value of my thinking, and then using the money that generates to pay other people to do the things that I don't enjoy. You know, so I think for me, you know, being able to refocus on your value and the worth and the ROI that you bring to any company as an employee or as a business owner. I remember it was one of the things I struggled with real early was understanding my own value and the responsibility for the income that I generate.
Yeah. And just to, you know, I know we'll be wrapping up soon, but it just, as you're talking, I'm just thinking about our clients, right? And the people that we've helped. Like this mindset shift of what you know, realizing the value of your worth. You know, our clients are charging more for the same amount of work, right? And it's not, you know, screwing the client over. It's actually now charging what you're worth as opposed to what you thought you were worth before, or, you know, you want to do the wrong thing. And I'm talking about, like, you know, one client last week after one of our sessions, you know, went in, this was like the next day after our session, had a client, a customer, and they were going to do a $500 job, right? They were a fabricator of some kind. And they ended up adding value to the client, like specific tactics that we spoke about, and ended up selling a $110,000 job. So, I mean, in terms of you know, increase, it's amazing, right? And it's just a mindset shift of, hang on a second, I can add this person, this client of mine, more value because I've understood what they want. I understood what I'm worth, and they're happy to actually, you know, buy this $110,000 project.
Yeah. And I think the beautiful thing there, right, is that's a synergy of two parts of knowledge, right? Number one, the investment of the years and decades in that case that person's put into mastering their trade and being amazing at what they do, but also the fact that they've then gone further and they've invested in the skills. And yes, it's the shameless plug, the skills that we've taught in this case to go, okay, how can you add value on top of the trade and the skill and the profession and the specialists that you have? How else can you add value? You know, how can you look for other things that you can help people with? And we talked about it in another podcast, you know, like driving past someone's house and seeing that they've just, done something, and it's like, how can I add value to that deck that was just built for you? Can I build a veranda on top of it? Just, and you can do that on the back of somebody else winning work, but you can do it on the back of you winning work. Okay, cool. Like, let's say you are building a deck, and it's like, cool, for an extra $3,000 or $4,000, I can build you a beautiful bullnose veranda that goes on, and we'll set this off. I'll be here. All the mobilization costs are already covered. It's just really an extra, little bit of materials and a little bit of labor, and it finishes everything that you've kind of talked to me about. And that's what clients do, because they've got the skill set of what they can actually do as a trade or profession, but also the skill set of now learning and understanding business. And I think that this is where it becomes really important, knowing and understanding your value. It's like, what else can I bolt onto that? How can I then actually make the ROI better for my clients and prospects? So yeah. You were right before, Bryan. We were running out of time. We're coming to the end of our time together. It always happens so quickly. Mate, is there anything else that you'd like to add on the back end of what we've just spoken about today?
Not really, other than I know we talk a lot, right? And sometimes we can go off on tangents, but I think this episode's a really important one in the sense that take the time out to actually think this through, right? Think about what you're really worth. And if you're only charging yourself certain dollars per hour, whatever the case might be, just think about what else it is that you're contributing to, and then think about how else you can actually create more value, how to actually, make more money from what you're actually already doing. Because in most cases, you're probably undercharging and being overworked, right? So,
yeah, 100%, mate. No, and nobody likes being underpaid and overworked, do they? So one thing that just come up for me, we've got a tool called the task audit. I think that this is going to be a really valuable tool. If you would like a copy of the tool called the task audit, this is going to give you an idea, paint a really clear picture of all the tasks that you're doing currently in your business, and then you're going to be able to assign a dollar value to those and work out how much it's actually costing you being the person that's doing all the things, wearing all the hats right now. So if you'd like a free copy of the task audit, send us an email to hello@tradiebusinessschool.com and just put task audit or audit in the toolbar. In the subject line, in the toolbar. Who am I talking about? And just put some text in the body and just say, listen to this podcast. Love you to send me that tool, and we'll get that across to you. But Bryan, it's been a pleasure as always, ladies and gentlemen. If you enjoyed today's podcast, please do all those amazing things that all us podcasters ask you to do. Like, subscribe, share with a friend, send us an email at hello@tradiebusinessschool.com if there's something you want to hear or get our wise words of wisdom from. But that's all from me. Bryan, thanks once again for being part of the show, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.
Cheers, Adam. Cheers, guys.
Cheers. Bye.